If you find yourself in a season of suffering, if you find yourself deserted and desolate, these scriptures this weekend are for you. And I hope in receiving the scriptures, these words of the Holy Gospel, reflecting on John in the midst of the desert, being that voice of one crying out, make straight the paths, fulfilling the prophecy of Isaiah, that the Holy Spirit will speak to your heart and to give you comfort. That in your desolate place, in your deserted place, you will find comfort and rest. In the first reading we have from Isaiah in the 40th chapter, comfort. Give comfort to my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and proclaim to her that her service is at an end. Reflecting on the prophet Isaiah today and entering into a reflection of the end times, we hear of only one path for us to walk. And it is a path universal to believers who follow God's ways, not worldly ways. But isn't it true that when we're in a desolate place, when we're in a deserted place, when we're suffering, it's more than a fork in the road as if, oh, I'm in a difficult situation, I have to make a decision. No, when we're suffering, we want to be anywhere but that place of desolation. So we're willing to go back, to go to the side, any direction but in the midst of our suffering. We want to point and run and flee or fight. But my friends, there is one way that the Holy Scriptures instructs us to walk, especially when we are in desolation, especially when we are in the desert, and that is forward. One way. Forward. Reading these scriptures and preparing for the liturgies this weekend, I recalled my time in San Diego and going on the trek from Mission San Diego de Alcalá and leaving a community that I fell in love with for 2 years. There's like medical documentation that speaks about the depression one person feels leaving San Diego. It's true. I mean, the weather is optimal, right? People are great, incredible place. And there actually is, like you could research it, you know? And so that was a part of it. I'm leaving San Diego. I just extended my heart and really entered into relationship with these people for a couple of years. Now I have to leave. I was grieving. And as I left the city, I started my trek up the California coast, and I visited the remaining churches of St. Junipero Serra, the 21 churches, the El Camino Real. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend it. And I made my way to every single church all the way up to Sonoma, the last mission, St. Raphael. And what was communicated to me as I was moving through all of these various stages of grief on the road by myself was the motto of St. Junipero Serra himself. You see, he lived by the motto, siempre adelante, nunca atrás. Always forward, never turn back. Showing and instructing by testimony how we are to walk on our journey of life. Always moving forward and never turning back. Now you would think after completing the 21 missions, I was fine, everything's great, but I still had quite a far journey ahead of me because I had to make it to Eastern Washington for the festivities around Gonzaga University's graduation ceremony, and then make my way diagonally back down to Florida. Arriving in Florida in Jacksonville, going to Arlington at Resurrection Parish, dropping off literally all of my belongings, and then hopping back in the car and driving to Southwest Florida for a wedding. This is my life. After the graduation ceremonies, a family member flew out to meet me because she was struggling with suicidal ideation. She journeyed with me from Spokane all the way down to Denver, ministering to her, wrapping my mind and my heart around her situation, praying with her, counseling. We stopped along the way in Montana to visit another young man, former MLB baseball player, who got hit in the jaw and the head with a baseball and was severely depressed, living isolated by himself with ideation. Surrounded by these two people who, looking at life, looking at a worldview, coming to a disposition, I don't want to live anymore. That desolation, that desolate place, that dark place. I joined my heart to theirs and entered into that desert-like, lifeless environment. And I pray that I spoke a word to their heart of prophecy. But as you could imagine, the journey was very, very challenging for me personally. My friends, as we open up the scriptures today, we hear of comfort, that God wishes to give us comfort. And it is a comfort that is like a voice crying out in the desert, in the desolate place, in the lifeless regions of our journey. And this voice cries out, "Prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the wasteland a highway for our God. Every valley shall be filled in, every mountain and hill shall be made low. The rugged land shall be made a plain, the rough country a broad valley." There is nothing that will get in the way of the perspective of the glory of God. As the next verse says, "Then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all people will see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken." Have you ever been out for a sunrise, Oceanside? You ever wake up that early? Are you out there like, "This is early enough, Father, thank you very much"? Did you see that sunrise this morning? Breathtaking. Why do we go to the ocean front? Why are we so inspired? Because there at the ocean front, there is no obstacle, no mountain, no rugged region. It is a pure horizon. Nothing is obstructing the radiance of a new day and the glory of the sun breaking the horizon and rising. And we as subjects of the children of this world anticipate and wait for this sun to rise, and the beauty overwhelms us, and we wonder, what is before us this day? My friends, as life continues, I encourage you, continue to move forward. No matter where you find yourself, no matter what desolation, no matter what struggle, move forward. Move to the shores of new beginnings. And there at the horizon, at the end of time, when everything will be made flat so that all of us together may view the glory of God, that day is worth it. It is worth suffering the journey to make it to the shoreline of new life, where the glory will be revealed from God and a new heaven, a new earth, where only the righteous shall dwell, as the scriptures say this morning. where we will finally have the harmony and the peace that we so long for. Why would God put the desire in your heart if he did not mean to fulfill it? Do you not thirst for that type of life, that type of world, where the perspective is completely ours together? No longer my own glory, but the glory of God that shines down on his children, his faithful children. My friends, this is what we celebrate in this second Sunday of Advent. A voice continually crying out in the desert, "Make straight the ways of the Lord." So that straight way is forward. So do not give up. The consolation of these readings speaks to us, especially in St. Peter in our second reading. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a mighty roar, and the elements will be dissolved by fire, and the earth and everything done on it will be found out. Since everything is to be dissolved in this way, what sort of persons ought you to be? Conducting yourself in holiness and devotion, waiting for and hastening the coming day of God, that coming day of glory, rising above the horizon, because of which the heavens will be dissolved in flames and the elements melted by fire, but according to his promise, we await new heavens and a new earth in which righteousness and peace dwells securely. Therefore, beloved, since you await these things, be eager to be found without spot or blemish before him at peace. Be at peace. So as I continued my journey from Denver back to Florida, at one stretch, it was an intense amount of time in the car. And I'm not like the typical person that travels with plans. I travel with providence. So I'm not like sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to travel approximately 627 miles, and then I'm going to stop at this approximate hotel and then approximately go to bed at. I don't do that. I just pushed myself, right? Forward, 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 forward. I get to Alabama, and this like famous country singer is singing, and I'm done, and I look at my hotels.com. There's no rooms available. I'm like, where am I going to stay? And trust me, all the hotels outside of town were sketchy at best. So I'm looking, and I find one. Ooh, this looks beautiful. Good price. Callaway, Georgia. That sounds awesome. Oh, there's a golf course. I've got my golf clubs. Maybe I'll do like a little round of golf. Beautiful. Type it in. Drive. I get there at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Fried. Check in. Saturday night. Sunday morning, really. I got to go to Mass. I don't like celebrating Mass by myself. I could do it, but I don't like doing it. So I fall asleep. I wake up at 1 o'clock. I pull out my masstime.org, and I look, and I'm like, what's the closest church? What kind of Mass is available? No Mass is available but one, and it's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What Catholic church has a 2 o'clock in the afternoon Mass? This rural parish in the middle of nowhere does. So I hop in my car and I drive all the way out there, making it in time. I walk in, and it was full of 8 people. So I sat behind this big country guy, and I'm singing and I'm participating. And you got to imagine, I've been in a very, very desolate, dark, alone place, grieving. And then all of a sudden, this priest begins to preach, and it was one of those situations where it was like, I needed to hear every single word. And all of the weight, all of the desolation started to lift. And I started to believe, like, God, this is providence. I'm going to be okay. Got to keep moving forward. I'm going to be all right. So at the end of Mass, the priest went on to say, are there any visitors here among us? I'm like, what? Rich Pagano, neighboring priest, to the south in Florida. He says, don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you. Okay. As you can imagine, the whole congregation gathered around me. So I'm sitting there and I'm interacting with them. And I said, it's kind of like, providence that I'm here. And the big country guy, he's like, I don't know what you mean about that providence. I'm like, well, it's where the circumstances of your life, and God come to meet you and provide you an experience that you absolutely need. It's kind of like the psalm that says where justice and peace shall kiss. And then the lady that was leading music, this is like an older country lady, she turns to me and she says, ooh, well, Father, we like to kiss around here. I said, I better get back to my hotel. That's the verse we have today, right? From the responsorial psalm. Lord, let us see your kindness. Grant us your salvation. Kindness and truth shall meet. Justice and peace shall kiss. My brothers and sisters, along the journey, let providence meet your circumstances. Receive the embrace and the kiss of God, encouraging you and inspiring you. Keep moving forward. God has a plan for you, and it is for you to observe firsthand with all of the children of righteousness the glory of God that awaits those who believe and love God. So I say it again, be at peace. Will justice and peace kiss? Be at peace. Like St. Peter said at the conclusion of the second reading, be at peace. And if you find yourself in a deserted place, be at peace.